So we've been talking about like being laid off, and what that does to you mentally, right? One part that we haven't really touched on yet, and which I think makes another episode, is kind of the breakdown of your routine. So what I mean by that is that, okay, so you have your 9 to 5 job, right? Um, and you're in a certain rhythm, right? Like, I don't know, in the morning you do your conference calls, you do your meetings, then at a certain time you just kind of, if you're an artist, you do the work. If you like a supervisor, you continue the meetings, I guess, and you plan a little bit, and so you have your 9 to 5 routine.
Hmm.
But then you've been following that for X amount of months or years, and then suddenly it's gone, right? You're laid off, and it's not out of, and you didn't plan for that, and suddenly you kind of fall into this hole. At least that is kind of like how I sometimes felt when the work suddenly stopped, right? And you're like, okay, so what do I fill my day with, right? Um,
Mm.
because for me at least, so again, I'm just going to jump into my particular case here. I mean, I do have already a fair amount of structure because I have kids, and they just kind of dictate, like when
Hmm.
I get up, what I do in the morning to bring them to school, for example, and when I need to pick them up, and kind of when my day usually ends with them, right? So there's a certain framework that um, I have to deal with, regardless of if I have a job or not, right?
Hmm.
But then kind of what happens in between, right? The kids are getting older, they're going to school, there's a large amount of kind of like free time um, that I have, or like that I kind of have now, that I'm looking for new things to do, right? And then it's
Hmm.
really difficult to kind of not um, fall into the usual kind of doom scrolling, or like on social media, or you kind of like, okay, I don't really have to do anything right now, right? Like it's great that maybe I give myself some time to kind of digest the loss of that
Mm.
job and kind of not do anything right now, but like, okay, how do I kind of start again? How do I make sure that after, like, let's say a month of not doing anything, like how do I kind of get the engine back up, right? That can sometimes be very difficult. And also in these kind of like large, like undefined kind of blocks of time now, like whether it's in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, um, there are certain thoughts that kind of start like coming up in your head, like in terms of like, oh my gosh, like I'm terrible, I can't find a job, like is it time for me to give up on this like industry entirely, right? So because your mind is so free, like lots and lots of different things can kind of come up. Some of them might be good, some of them also might be quite bad, and I guess it depends a little bit on what kind of person you are. If you're like more like an optimistic person, or more like a pessimistic or realist, right? So
Why
but
don't why don't you tell us y- what how you dealt with it?
yeah, so
Let's get
I
into
mean,
it. Like let's hear how
Dealt,
you
dealt,
dealt with it.
dealt is like dealing, right? Like I'm still dealing with it, and
Yeah.
it's kind
Well,
of,
what's
it's a bit of a struggle, right? So what? Of course, so I'm holding on to that. I have to hold on to that schedule with my kids anyway, right? But so what I kind of do for now is uh, I kind of started working out a lot. Like I started already when I was still employed, right? But then I really got into it more and more as kind of the work dried up, and now I have a lot of kind of physical health things that kind of keep me busy throughout the day. And that has really helped me coping with it. Like, I mean, there's days where I really hate working out. It's not like it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm so happy like to have finally time to work out. It's not like that. If I could choose, I would not. But it has, of course, improved my health tremendously. But also, it kind of gives structure, right? In those empty moments, I'm not under the illusion that I can continue this past. Like if I have that new job, um, I will have to kind of make adjustments, right? Um, but that has helped like a lot to kind of find a new routine that kind of can somewhat replace my job routine, right? And then of course, like I need to continue looking for jobs. So I've been looking, of course, like religiously on like social media, on job websites. I've been reaching out to people, right? So to kind of like the job search itself is a job, kind of an ex-colleague of mine said that, and I thought that was very fitting. So treat the job search just like another job and
Mm, mm.
spend x amount of time per day on that, but then don't drive yourself crazy by like really scrolling and searching on LinkedIn like every free minute you have of the day, but just set a 2 hour block, um, and do the stuff you need to do, send out the emails, reach out to people, talk, meet people, right? Put yourself out there. Um, um, and that can is another chunk of time you can spend productively
Mm.
on something, right? And of course, like if you're an artist, right, like please, it's time to look maybe at your resume, it's time to look at your portfolio, right? Is there anything you want to, well, is there some personal work you always wanted to do but you always pushed off, or like do you feel like, oh my gosh, my portfolio is lacking? Maybe it's time to reach out to people who can give you feedback on your portfolio, right?
Mm,
To see
mhm,
like how
mhm.
can you improve. For like, or another idea would be to like take a course, right? um, Learn something new. I mean that's you can also do that, right? For me it has really been the physical health thing. I'm also like have been studying Japanese for a long time, and the regular lessons and the regular kind of daily learning of that language has again given me like little bits of routine, right? Rather than like one big job that takes up everything, I have like little compartmentalized kind of things like, okay, I need to learn that many characters, I need to do that many push-ups, I need to run that many kilometers per day kind of thing. And that has given me like a lot of like things to hold on to, because if I didn't have that, like I would have really been kind of falling into a hole and do not be very productive. And based on the kind of person I am, I would have been very like drowning in self-pity all the time, right?
Mm.
um, so for me, like if I do not force myself into a routine, right, I feel like I'm going to be completely useless and
Mm.
unproductive, right? But that's for me, right? Like I don't know what kind of like what kind of importance like routine has for you, and if you even like deem it important, right? Does the question is, does everybody have to have a routine, right, to excel? I don't know, or to even get by, right? I don't know. I think it's an
So,
interesting point.
yeah, I mean, so I wrote a lot of stuff. So like
Good,
I
good,
want to
good.
let you finish first.
No, no, I'm good. I'm good.
You're good.
You
Okay.
should. Yeah.
Um, I wrote, first things first is, to grieve.
Mm,
So give yourself a time, because I know that when I lost the jobs that I was very upset about, I didn't really know what to do, but I know what to do now. And a lot of times when you lose something, is you got to grieve. You don't just go into
mm,
like, work mode, like give yourself time to say, hey man, I'm just gonna do shit I like. And
mm.
I'm going to doom scroll, but give yourself
Mm.
a time,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
at some point you kind of have to acknowledge the fact that you lost something and you feel bad
Mm.
about it, and
Right, right,
and
right.
and not to gloss over that, because then it's just
Mm,
going to be frantic, just go somewhere, do something, whatever it is
mm,
that's going to make you feel better, grieve, um, and start like you said, start giving yourself more structure, is usually a good way of sort of, okay, getting back on track on things, to stop ruminating,
mm,
just keep
mm,
going on the same thought. Oh, I'm no good. Why did I get, because you got to go through those stages of losing, right? And acceptance. And at some
mm.
point, you
Right.
just
That's a
have to
good point.
accept
Yeah.
that it's lost. I'm doing everything I can to figure out why it's lost, and then I'm going to move forward to finding something else. Um, what you said about working out is great, because in a lot of more spiritual, teachings, is movement creates good energy,
Oh, okay.
creates positive energy.
Right.
When you're just sitting there,
Mm,
you're really stagnant. When you move, you start feeling better. And
mm.
that's usually a very good way, like if you're
Right.
like swimming, working out. And by the way, we need to see those muscles at some point that you've been working
Whatever.
out. Um, but uh, you know, that it could be an entry point to a lifelong change, or at
Mm,
least, because I remember when we were talking to Sparth, he was telling us he was making a lot of changes physically,
mm,
like
mm.
doing his workouts and stuff like that, and he had
Right.
incorporated it into his life, and it's
Mm,
made a big change.
right.
Some people change to, a vegetarian or and add an exercise and change their diet, and they feel a lot better. It doesn't need to stop. This could be the
Right.
beginning of very good habits that you're
Mm, mm.
forming. So, and if you look back in the long run, maybe you would thank the layoff for
Maybe.
changing your life, because the truth of it is not all things at that moment that you grieve are always bad. Um, maybe
Right.
not. So, and I think um, looking for jobs is, definitely, like you said, it's a job, right? But also don't
Mm,
forget to start seeing people. Don't
right.
forget to, uh, call in those favors and talk to the people that you like, and that they may have something for you. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I think learning new things that you're talking about Japanese, like it really rewires your brain.
Mm,
So learning new things are great. That's a great way to do something. And I think even for especially, this is where I think some experienced artists don't do that. They don't, they think, well, I'm experienced, man. My art's good, but they don't realize that maybe this is the time that you could actually go and do something that's completely different. And
right.
you never even know what you find. And maybe your next job isn't even exactly what you did, you
Maybe.
know?
Yeah.
So it's worth exploring. It's a time that you can
Right.
give to yourself. And
Right.
I get it, you might be stressed out, but I mean, in terms
Mm,
of the
yeah.
routine and how you are handling it, I think that's a very healthy way of doing it, versus
I hope so.
I'm going to get drunk every day, like
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
probably is
Definitely.
not a very good
Mm,
way to
yeah.
go. Although,
Not very
like I
productive.
said, everybody has to have their own way of getting over things. But as long as
Right.
you're not self-destructive or harming yourself, um, these are maybe some of the things that, we've done,
Right.
that
Right.
you know
Yeah.
can apply. Yeah.
Have you do you have any do you have any routines you follow? Maybe outside of the 9 to 5 work kind of thing. Um,
Yeah, I mean, my routine is I typically like to exercise. Like when it's the weather is good, I like to take the bike out. If I need to have lunch, I'll take the bike out to the lunch place, eat, and
okay.
then bike around some more, be in the sun, come back, and I'm still within my hour of lunch, so
Mm,
I'm good. I like to spend time, just. I mean, routine wise, that's the most I do is usually that. And
mm-hmm.
what I do now is like every day, I do at least 1 hour of art for myself.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So
Okay,
usually
that's
that's
great.
in the morning, and then
Oh, really? Okay.
I do the exercise, some form of exercise, and then I do my standing frame, because of my disability, and
Mm,
all
mm.
that I do before I start work in the morning, and then I'll draw in the morning or sculpt a little bit, whatever to get my energy going. And then
Right.
lunchtime is when I go and enjoy some sun or go out. I don't
Mm, that's
typically
nice.
like
Yeah.
I don't like to eat at home when it's
Oh, really?
lunchtime,
Okay.
because I enjoy the sun unless it's raining or something.
Right. 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 Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
I
did. Mm, mm.
and I
Go
make
ahead.
sure that I quit by like a certain time, like 6:30. I
Mm-hmm.
quit, and then I can spend time with my family. I can just chill and relax, and whatever. Usually, then it's more, spending time with the people I care about, and
Yeah,
also
that's nice.
maybe doing some of my own work, or just doing
Mm,
nothing at all, reading or whatever. So
that's good.
meditating. That's another routine. Every morning I when I open my eyes, first thing is meditation.
Wow. Okay. That's
So,
interesting.
yeah, that's usually what I do. First thing, I start a meditation and I go, and it usually puts me in a pretty good place. And it's not like a
Mm.
long meditation, right? I mean, we're talking about 15 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
I mean,
that's what I.
I did hear repeatedly that, I mean, when you like, the first thing you should do during a day is something that brings you joy, right? Um, and otherwise, like, you get up and you're like, oh my god, I have to go on another call, or like, I have to do this now, right?
Mm,
Then kind of getting up is already like dreadful, and you like,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
have a
yeah.
very bad outlook on the entire day. But if you start your day with things you love, like whether it's like meditation, whether it's like, again, like you said, some like personal work, or going out for a walk, whatever it is, right? Like that's I think can do wonders if you do that like on a daily basis, I think. um so
Yeah,
that's
and you
very,
can
very good.
absolutely plan that the night before. So when you go to
Oh yeah,
bed,
oh yeah.
a lot of people say, well, it's already started by the time you go to bed, because
Mm.
when you go to bed, you're already looking forward to, or not looking forward to,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
next
yeah.
day, right? So if I know every day when
Mm.
I wake up, this is going to happen, this is going to happen before I do any work, then I
Mm.
know at least I'll have a slow start to my day, and
Yeah.
I'm feeling good. I mean, my wife needs a lot more time
Mm.
because she likes to have a lot of
Mm, that's
time,
fine. Yeah.
yeah, and, it's absolutely fine. I think everybody, it's just to say that everybody has their pace,
Oh
and
yeah.
not to feel like you need, to be at a certain pace, but at
Mm.
least give yourself a bit of time to
Yeah.
just
And
really roll into the day positively.
I mean, that is that. I mean, we are really not advocating that you need to be a morning person, right? Like, we're not saying like, oh my gosh, you need to be like that hotshot CEO that wakes up at 5 a.m. and runs
I'm
20
not that.
kilometers every day, right? No, 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 that's not what it is, right? But like, and like you said, like, it starts in the night before. I think there's a like there's a big difference if you like have your phone in front of your face when you fall asleep, and like you're worrying about you're firing off a few emails that people need to answer overnight for you to like then really get your phone out first thing in the morning and then reply to those emails to just kind of keep the pace up or whatever, right? That's very different from like, I don't know, putting your running gear beside your bed, so you can like get out of bed and do your morning run, or you put I don't know, you put whatever you need for your meditation, or you want to read a few pages in a book, so you put the book on your bedside table and kind of, I don't know, bring the kids to school, but then like sit down and read for 15 minutes or something like that, or meditate or do whatever else, right? Um, and I think there's a big difference if if you really keep that up on a daily basis, right? And for every person that will be different, right? Some people love to like, yeah, have a slow morning, have a cup of coffee, and then only get like really start the day at 10 or 11. That's fine, right? If you don't really have any other responsibilities, whether it's your job or your family or anything else, then that's totally fine, right? If that's what gives you that energy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love the, like putting the shoes there, and,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that, you're just really doing things with a positive mindset and
Mm.
having fun. Like, yeah, like you said, don't start the day off reading news. That's one big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Because, you always, the news is by nature telling you a lot of things that aren't very positive, and
Mm-mm-mm.
and to catch up on news, to be informed is one thing, but don't start your day like that. Start your day with anything that you deem positive.
Right. Right.
And I think that's already going to put you in a good frame of mind, and
Exactly.
then you can go about doing whatever you need to do, with a better frame of mind. Is That's a godsend, because
Mm.
I never used to do any of that.
Right.
I never used to do any thing for myself in that way. And I think once I started, it felt good.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it's kind of one of
Definitely.
those things that are sticking, and for the meditation thing, I know it's, everybody talking, meditation, but I'm not the biggest meditator, but I can't say that I love the experience of it, because I'm still struggling to sort of
Mm.
meditate, but I love the after,
Mm.
what how peaceful I feel. That's what I love. So, I'm correlating the two.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it feels really good. So yeah, I mean, I think all these things will help in in you finding a routine that works,
Mm,
and to go about. And the more positive you are, the
mm.
more you're going to be able to put that energy into making new art and finding new jobs, hopefully, and just being happier in general. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you always have to remember that, like with routine and everything, these things accumulate very slowly usually. So whether it's a positive effect or a negative one, whether it's about like 10 minutes of daily meditation or whether it's like reading the news every morning, right? Those effects are maybe not necessarily immediately noticeable, right? But they will accumulate over time, right? And that's something to keep in mind. And of course, that is also true for your physical well-being, right? Exercise once will maybe give you a muscle ache, but if you keep it up on a regular basis, right, you will get the benefits like later on, right? Um, and I guess that's also the same for art, right? We know that, like we're all artists know that, like practicing your art daily makes you better, but then we also have to realize that exercising our mind regularly also makes you feel better, right? And makes you like generally, hopefully, a better person, right? Thank you again for listening and watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe.